What did demons do to a young boy in Mark 9? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Mark on Walking Through the Bible. If you have a Bible with you, you can turn to Mark chapter 9. We're going to be reading from verses 14 to 29. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Mark chapter 9, beginning at verse 14. And when he came to the disciples, he saw a great multitude around him, and scribes disputing with them. Immediately, when they saw him, all the people were greatly amazed, and running to him, greeted him. And he asked the scribes, "What are you discussing with them?" Then one of the crowd answered and said, "Teacher, I brought you my son, who has a mute spirit, and wherever it seizes him, it throws him down. He foams at the mouth, gnashes his teeth, and becomes rigid. So I spoke to your disciples that they should cast it out, but they could not." He answered and said, "O faithless generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I bear with you? Bring him to me." Then they brought him to him, and when he saw him, immediately the spirit convulsed him, and he fell on the ground and wallowed, foaming at the mouth. So he asked his father, "How long has this been happening to him?" And he said, "From childhood. And often he has thrown him both into the fire and into the water to destroy him. But if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us." Jesus said to him, "If you can believe, all things are possible to him who believes." Immediately the father of the child cried out and said with tears, "Lord, I believe, help my unbelief." When Jesus saw that the people came running together, he rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to it, "Deaf and dumb spirit, I command you, come out of him and enter him no more." Then the spirit cried out, convulsed him greatly, and he came out of him. And he became as one dead, so that many said, "He is dead." But Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him up, and he arose. And when he had come into the house, his disciples asked him privately, "Why could we not cast it out?" So he said to them, "This kind can come out by nothing but prayer and fasting." In this chapter, we find Jesus on the mountain of transfiguration, being changed before Peter, James, and John into a glorious form. He met Moses and Elijah on the mountain. Thus, all the universe was represented there, man on earth, man in heaven, and man who had died and await the resurrection in Hades. After coming down the mountain, he taught the rest of the disciples about the mistakes the scribes made about Elijah in not recognizing that he had come already and that John the Baptist was the one coming in the spirit of Elijah. Today's reading appears to happen a short while after the events earlier in the chapter. Jesus sees his disciples among the multitude, and the scribes are disputing among them. Jesus asked the scribes what they were disputing about, presumably so he could answer the dispute. One from the crowd answered Jesus and said that he had brought his son to him, who had a mute spirit, meaning a demon. This demon caused the boy to suffer greatly, for it caused him to seize up and become rigid. It threw him down into the fire and into the water, caused him to foam at the mouth and gnash his teeth. What is being described to us here is that the man's son is crazy. Now the man said that he had taken his son to his disciples, but they could not cure him. When had the man done this? It is most likely just before this man came to Jesus, meaning that the scribes were disputing with the disciples about their power and the power of their master, Jesus. Jesus' response was one of exasperation, for he said, "O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I bear with you?" Was he speaking about this man or the man's son? No, for the man said that he believed, but if there was anything in his belief that was not enough for Jesus to help him with his unbelief. So if Jesus wasn't talking about the man or his son, who was he talking about? The disciples. He was displeased with their lack of faith. He told the man to bring his son to him, after which Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out of him, but not before causing this boy one more instance of great pain. With the demon now gone, the boy was on the ground very still, so still that some thought he was dead. Jesus knew better, however, and he lifted the boy up by the hand, and the boy showed that he was cured, in that he could now hear and speak, for this demon evidently caused him not to be able to do this. After the disciples saw Jesus perform the miracle, they privately asked Jesus why they couldn't cast the demon out. In Matthew's account, Jesus would explain that it was because of their unbelief, for if they had the faith of a mustard seed, a small seed, they could move this mountain and do anything. Their lack of faith hindered them here, for it seems that this type of demon could not be cast out except by prayer and fasting. Was he saying that this was a special type of demon? Perhaps. Or perhaps he was saying that the disciples' faith was not strong enough because they hadn't fasted and spent time praying to God for the power to cast out this demon. Whichever it is, the disciples needed to grow in their faith if they were to perform miracles. Bringing it forward to today, even though we cannot perform miracles, if we have faith in God, we can do all the things that God wants us to do. So let our faith grow in God each day so that we can go out and work the works of God. With that, our time is up for today. Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Mark chapter 9, verses 30 to 41, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.